Imagine being so mentally untouchable that no insult, no disrespect, no betrayal could shake your stability. Imagine walking into a room where people who once mocked you now measure their words, not because you yelled, not because you fought, but because you mastered the art of psychological warfare, quiet, subtle, and devastating. That's what Machiavelli understood better than almost anyone in history. And if you stay with me through this journey, you'll learn how to use his mind tricks not just to defend yourself, but to completely destroy disrespect at its root.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
We've all felt it. That sting when someone underestimates you, disrespects you, talks down to you, uses you. And it's not always loud. Sometimes it's a glance. Sometimes it's silence. Sometimes it's being excluded, ignored, or subtly dismissed. The question is, how do we respond? Most people either explode with emotion or suppress the pain. But what if there was a third path? A psychological path. A path of power. Machiavelli wrote in The Prince, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." But most people misunderstand this. Fear, in his view, was not about cruelty. It was about control. It was about psychological dominance. To truly destroy disrespect, we must shift the power dynamic not just externally, but internally. And that begins with how you see yourself. Because the first person who must respect you is you. But here's the twist: you can't demand respect. That's what weak minds do. Strong minds command respect through presence, discipline, and unpredictability. Machiavelli spoke often of the fox and the lion, two strategies of power. The lion uses force, the fox uses deception. To destroy disrespect, you must become both. You must be capable of silence and strategy, and when necessary, capable of unleashing the lion within. Ask yourself, when someone disrespects you, do you feel the urge to prove yourself immediately? That's exactly what they expect. That's exactly what keeps you small. The real Machiavellian move is to observe quietly. Never react in the moment. Let them think they've won. Let them underestimate you. Because in underestimation lies your greatest weapon, surprise. One of Machiavelli's deepest insights was that unpredictability is a form of power. In Discourses on Livy, Machiavelli wrote, "Men in general judge more from appearances than from reality. All men have eyes, but few have the gift of penetration. You must become the exception. You must begin to see through people. Look beyond their words. Sense their insecurities, their patterns, their emotional weaknesses. When someone disrespects you, they are revealing a part of themselves. They are handing you psychological data. Use it." Let's go deeper. Why does disrespect hurt so much? Because it triggers a fear that we are less than we believed, that we are powerless. But that is the illusion. Disrespect only has power if you accept its meaning. Machiavelli would say, redefine it. When someone disrespects you, see it not as an injury, but as information. See it as a test. See it as an opportunity to train your mind in silence, restraint, and strategic patience. Now let's talk about silence. Most people fear silence because it feels like submission. But Machiavelli would tell you, silence is your shield. It confuses your enemy. It forces them to reveal more. When someone disrespects you, don't explain, don't justify, don't defend. Let your silence become a mirror in which their own insecurity is reflected back at them. The moment you stop reacting, you start controlling. But silence alone isn't enough. You must also learn the art of calculated presence. Machiavelli understood that timing was everything. If you strike too early, you lose the element of surprise. If you wait too long, you lose momentum. So you must prepare yourself emotionally, mentally, strategically for the right moment. And when it comes, you don't retaliate. You reveal. You reveal your strength. You reveal your growth. You reveal the version of you they never expected. This is psychological judo. You absorb the force of their disrespect and convert it into leverage. You use their misjudgment to fuel your transformation. And then, when the time is right, you let them see what you've become, not through revenge, but through undeniable presence. A presence that says, I no longer need your approval. I've outgrown your games. Machiavelli also wrote, a wise man ought always to follow the paths beaten by great men, and to imitate those who have been supreme. So who are your models? Who are the people that turn disrespect into dominance? Study them. Learn their posture, their patience, their poise. Greatness is not loud. It is deliberate, and it is always rooted in self-respect. But here's a deeper truth. You can't destroy disrespect outside of you until you've destroyed it inside of you. That means confronting the part of you that still seeks validation from people who don't value you. That means letting go of the desire to be liked, to be accepted, to be praised. Ask yourself, why do I want their respect? What would happen if I stopped needing it? The moment you no longer need someone's respect, you've already taken back your power. This is the core of Machiavellian psychology. Control starts with detachment. The less you need, the more powerful you become. And this is not coldness, it is clarity. When you detach from the need for external approval, you begin to see people as they are, not as you wish them to be. You stop chasing respect, and you begin to command it through alignment, action, and mystery. Mystery is a weapon. Machiavelli warned rulers never to reveal too much. Once people think they understand you, they stop fearing you. So keep your plans private. Let your growth be quiet. Let your breakthroughs be personal. Disrespect dies in the presence of mystery because people cannot attack what they cannot define. Be unpredictable. Be unreadable. Be a mind they cannot map. But don't mistake mystery for isolation. To destroy disrespect, you must learn the art of strategic connection. Align yourself with those who elevate your thinking. Build alliances that reinforce your value. Machiavelli emphasized the importance of strong networks not because of sentiment, but because of survival. Even the strongest mind needs mirrors that reflect its potential, not its limitations. And in case you're wondering, how do we deal with chronic disrespect from people close to us? Family, friends, partners. Here's the brutal truth. If someone repeatedly disrespects you, they are either testing your boundaries or reflecting your lack of them. Machiavelli would say, the first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. Who you allow into your life is a reflection of how you see yourself. Raise your standards, and you force others to rise or disappear. Now here's a question that will change your life if you answer it honestly. Who in your life have you allowed to disrespect you because you were afraid of being alone? That is the root of most suffering. That is the chain that binds powerful minds to small cages. And until you break that chain, you will never fully step into your strength. So what does it mean to destroy disrespect in the deepest sense? It means becoming untouchable, not because no one attacks you, but because their attacks no longer reach you. It means becoming emotionally sovereign. It means building an inner fortress so strong that no insult, no rejection, no betrayal can pierce your peace. And that takes work. Inner work, daily work, ruthless honesty. Machiavelli didn't write for the weak. He wrote for those willing to see the world as it is, not as they wish it to be. And the world is full of power games, subtle manipulations, and psychological warfare. You can't afford to be naive. You must become a master of your inner world. You must learn to move in silence, to strike with precision, and most importantly, to walk away with dignity when the game is beneath you. Because the final Machiavellian truth is this: sometimes the most powerful move is not to fight back, but to disappear from their story entirely. To remove your energy, your presence, your attention. To let your absence speak louder than your presence ever could. And when your silence leaves a void they cannot fill, that's when they'll realize who you truly were. When you withdraw your presence from those who once disrespected you, something strange begins to happen. At first, they feel empowered. They interpret your silence as weakness. But as the days pass and your absence becomes undeniable, something darker creeps in: doubt. They begin to wonder why they no longer have access to you. They replay their words. They revise their judgments. And quietly, they begin to feel the weight of what they lost. Machiavelli understood this phenomenon deeply. He knew that the mind, when faced with uncertainty, punishes itself more efficiently than any enemy ever could. Disrespect survives through your reaction. Without your reaction, it dies of starvation. The more you respond, the more power you give away. But when you train yourself to withhold energy, to allow others to sit in the silence of your detachment, you turn the tables completely. This isn't repression, it's discipline. It's psychological artistry. And it begins when you realize that your presence is not free. It must be earned. Machiavelli wrote, "A prince never lacks legitimate reasons to break his promise." At first glance, this seems immoral. But look deeper. What he's really saying is this: your loyalty must be flexible. You owe no loyalty to those who undermine your dignity. You owe no explanations to those who have already decided to misunderstand you. You are not bound by old agreements when the respect within them has eroded. The shallow mind clings to familiarity. The strategic mind adapts. And that's exactly what we must become: adaptable. The world is not filled with fairness. It is filled with dynamics. Those who survive and thrive are not the most talented, but the most strategically aware. If someone disrespects you once, it may be a mistake. If they do it twice, it is a test. If they do it 3 times, it is a pattern. And at that point, continuing to engage is not loyalty, it is self-betrayal. So how do we begin to dismantle the inner structure that allows disrespect to continue? We start by examining the stories we've told ourselves. Many of us believe that to be a good person means to be endlessly forgiving, endlessly patient, endlessly tolerant. But Machiavelli would challenge that. He would say, it is much more secure to be feared than to be loved. And in psychological terms, fear does not mean aggression. It means boundaries. It means clarity. It means being the kind of person who is not easily accessed, not easily shaken, and not easily manipulated. People don't respect what is always available. They respect what they must work to understand. So ask yourself, have you made yourself too available to people who don't value you? Have you made it easy for others to exploit your kindness? If so, this is not an invitation to become cruel. It is an invitation to become precise, to measure your energy like currency, to invest it only where it multiplies, not where it is drained. The Machiavellian mind does not waste a thought. It observes, it calculates, and it conserves. When someone shows you their contempt, you don't argue. You don't fight. You simply retreat to your mental fortress and make a new decision. You reposition yourself. You reallocate your attention. You protect your energy like a sovereign state protects its borders. Because if you don't, your peace will be invaded. Let's go even deeper. One of Machiavelli's most profound strategies was the use of perception. He understood that power is not just about what you do, it's about what people believe you are capable of doing. He wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are." This is the essence of psychological warfare. You don't need to retaliate violently. You need to give the impression that retaliation is always on the table. This is the power of restraint. When you hold back, not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to wait, people begin to fear what they cannot predict. And fear, when rooted in respect, creates space. Space for you to maneuver, space for you to grow, space for others to reconsider. So what happens when disrespect comes from someone close to you, someone you love, someone you've trusted? This is where most people fall apart, because they confuse love with permission. They believe that caring for someone means tolerating their worst behavior. But Machiavelli would argue, the best fortress which a prince can possess is the affection of his people. Affection, not dependence. Respect, not submission. If someone truly values you, they will adjust. If they don't, your withdrawal will teach them more than any speech could. And sometimes your withdrawal won't change them. Sometimes they will continue in their pattern. That's when you must go further, not just in silence, but in self-construction. You must become so elevated, so sharpened, so internally complete that their opinion no longer holds weight. Their disrespect becomes background noise in a life that is too full of purpose to be distracted. You do not destroy disrespect by fighting it directly. You destroy it by outgrowing it, by becoming so powerful that it cannot touch you. This requires discipline. It requires you to get serious about your goals, to stop wasting your time in low-energy spaces, to stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you, and to stop negotiating with your own potential. Machiavelli also said, "The first opinion which one forms of a prince and of his understanding is by observing the men he has around him." Who surrounds you? Are they people who speak to your highest self or to your fears? Are they people who challenge you or people who use you? Every relationship is a mirror, and if you are surrounded by disrespect, you must ask, what part of me is still tolerating this? This is not about blame. It's about ownership. The Machiavellian mind never plays the victim. It studies the terrain. It adjusts its strategy. It builds alliances with people who respect strength, vision, and integrity. And it walks away from those who don't, not with bitterness, but with clarity. And here's a psychological insight most people miss. Disrespect is often a reaction to your potential. People sense your power before you fully embody it, and that threatens them. So they minimize you. They mock you. They test you, not because you are weak, but because they hope you'll stay small. They hope you'll stay predictable. They hope you'll never realize who you are. So realize it, step into it. Let their disrespect become the pressure that sharpens your blade. Let it push you into the gym, into your books, into your solitude, into your discipline. Let it drive you so deeply into growth that when they see you again, they won't recognize you. And that moment when the one who disrespected you has to respect what you've become, that moment is the real revenge. Not cruelty, not retaliation, just undeniable transformation. But here's the final twist. Once you reach that level, you no longer even need revenge. You're free. Free from the need to prove, to perform, to please. You become Machiavellian not in manipulation, but in mastery. You master yourself, your mind, your reactions, your focus. You become the kind of person who walks into a room and doesn't need to say a word. Your silence speaks, your energy speaks, your results speak. Machiavelli's mind tricks are not about domination for its own sake. They are about survival, dignity, and strategic living in a world that often rewards the disingenuous. But you, if you're willing to do the inner work, can rise above that. You can become a force of clarity in a fog of confusion. You can become a fortress of calm in a storm of chaos. And you can destroy disrespect not by becoming louder, but by becoming undeniable. Now ask yourself this. What would you look like? What would your life look like if you stopped responding to every slight and started building something so great that disrespect couldn't survive in its presence? What would it look like to become so evolved that disrespect could no longer find a place in your life? Not because the world stopped throwing it at you, but because you became immune mentally, emotionally, energetically. That's the final level of this journey. And it's not an illusion of confidence. It's not the armor of ego. It's something much deeper. It's mastery. It's the total transformation of how you interpret reality. And Machiavelli, in all his ruthless brilliance, gave us the blueprint. He understood that real power is invisible. It's not about shouting, threatening, or broadcasting your strength. It's about being so centered in who you are, so clear in your internal compass, that disrespect doesn't even register as an attack, it registers as misalignment. And when something doesn't align, you don't fight it. You don't fix it. You simply move around it, like water flowing past stone. This is what he meant when he wrote, "It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles." You don't gain respect through status or appearance. You gain it by embodying something others can feel. A presence, a discipline, a refusal to be shaken by the petty games of the insecure. And once you reach this level, you don't even need to destroy disrespect. You transcend it, because you are no longer in the arena where it has power. But how do we reach that level? It begins with ritual, not performance, not motivation. Ritual. Daily behaviors that reinforce your self-worth, sharpen your mind, and detach you from dependence on external validation. You wake up earlier than your enemies. You train your body harder than your critics expect. You read deeper than your peers. You speak less but with more weight. You become a strategist, not a reactor. Machiavelli knew that power comes from preparation. He wrote, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." In other words, you don't wait to be disrespected to start building strength. You build now. You prepare now. You become the type of person who is already 5 moves ahead before anyone even tries to play you. And when disrespect does appear, it hits a wall, a structure, a self you've built so intentionally that no one else's opinion could ever shake it. Ask yourself, what would your life look like if you stopped waiting to be respected and started living in a way that made disrespect irrelevant? What would it look like to build a mind so fortified that no insult could penetrate? That's not fantasy. That's the result of inner engineering, of choosing to become a person of substance in a world obsessed with surface. And yes, there will be people who still attempt to tear you down. That's inevitable. But their attacks will lose meaning, because the meaning you assign to them will vanish. Machiavelli would tell us, men offend either from fear or hate. And often, when you are growing, when you are changing, when you are rising, they will fear you. They will hate you. But that's not your problem. That's their internal chaos projecting outward. Let them drown in it. You stay focused. That's the key. Focus. You want to destroy disrespect. Starve it. Don't feed it your anger. Don't feed it your attention. Don't feed it your confusion. Starve it by building something so powerful, so undeniable, so deeply rooted in your purpose that disrespect becomes background noise. Like traffic in the distance. You hear it, but it doesn't affect your direction. This is the Machiavellian way, not cold, not cruel, but calculated. You calculate your moves. You calculate your energy. You calculate your circle. Who do you allow into your mind? Into your space? Into your time? Every person in your life is either reinforcing your value or eroding it. There is no neutral. And if someone consistently disrespects you, they are telling you who they are. Believe them and move accordingly. But don't just walk away. Walk up, walk higher, walk into the version of yourself that they could never reach. That's the real devastation, not revenge, not confrontation, but evolution. You evolve so far beyond their reach that they are forced to watch your glow from the shadows of their own stagnation. And if they do speak your name again, let it be with confusion. Let it be with regret. Let it be with awe. Because here's the ultimate twist. The person who once disrespected you will one day try to imitate you. That's what happens when you become undeniable. People who underestimated you will try to study your posture, your silence, your discipline. They will try to replicate what they once mocked. But they won't be able to. Because what you built wasn't performance, it was transformation. And that's what this whole journey is about. Not just protecting your ego, not just defending your pride, but transforming your inner world so completely that outer chaos can't penetrate it. You become a fortress of calm, of clarity, of conviction. And from that place you rule, not over others, but over yourself. Machiavelli wasn't trying to create tyrants. He was trying to awaken realists, people who saw the world clearly and moved through it deliberately. And that's what we must become. Not idealists waiting for respect from a broken system, but engineers of our own minds, architects of our own destiny, warriors of presence. So here's where it all comes together. You want to destroy disrespect, then become the kind of person who no longer needs anyone's approval. Create so much value in yourself that their opinions become irrelevant. Build so much discipline that your energy becomes expensive. Sharpen your mind so deeply that even your silence speaks volumes. And then when disrespect arises, you don't flinch. You don't explain. You don't respond. You simply rise. And rising doesn't mean becoming loud. It means becoming solid, rooted, unshakable. It means being able to walk away from any table where your worth is not respected and never looking back. Because there are better tables. And if there aren't, you build one. Machiavelli said, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves." One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. You must become both. You must see through manipulation and respond with strength. You must sense disrespect before it becomes poison. And you must respond not with noise but with moves. Strategic moves. Emotional discipline, relentless growth. That's how you destroy disrespect. Not with anger, not with revenge, but with elevation. And once you reach that level, you'll notice something strange. The disrespect doesn't stop entirely, but it loses all its power, because it has no place to land. And when others try to provoke you, they won't find the old version of you. They'll find someone who has already transcended the game. And in that silence, in that stillness, in that unbothered presence, you will have already won. So now I ask you, not as a challenge, but as a mirror, who do you need to become so that disrespect no longer defines your reaction, your energy, or your identity? Because the answer to that question is your next evolution.